This episode is presented by the Visit Cedar City Brian Head Tourism Bureau. Discover the art of adventure at Utah's gateway to the parks. Cedar City is within a few hours' drive from 6 different national parks and monuments, and only 30 minutes from fresh snow at Brian Head Resort. Check out visitcedarcity.com to plan your next trip. This episode is sponsored by the Cedar City Business and Innovation Center, dedicated to supporting local businesses and entrepreneurs. It provides resources and services aimed at fostering business creation, growth, and retention. The center features the Makerspace, where entrepreneurs and small businesses can have access to 3D printers, video production, and photography equipment, t-shirt printing, and more. Whether you're starting a new venture or looking to expand an existing one, the Cedar City Business and Innovation Center offers the tools and guidance to help you succeed. To learn more and get involved, visit innovationcenter.cc. Hello and welcome to another episode of Explore Local Podcast, presented by Visit Cedar City Brian Head in partnership with Cedar City Iron County Economic Development. This is produced by Dallas Smith Media, and I'm your host, David Johnson, Economic Development Director for Cedar City and Iron County. All right. And Waite, who's the manager of the Cedar City Business and Innovation Center. He's also a local business owner of Squatch Threads, which is a pickleball paddle company, right?
Yep.
And you're really active within the pickleball community, right?
Yeah.
So, and I hear people all the time that know you. They either know you from pickleball or the Innovation Center. So, well, let's start off first by talking about the Innovation Center. So the Innovation Center is one of our sponsors for the Explore Local podcast,
Right.
Because of how you're involved with small business in the community and startups in the community. Do you want to talk a little bit about just high level what the Business Innovation Center is and maybe the different organizations that are there, and then we can get down to the nitty-gritty?
Yeah, of course. So the Cedar City Business and Innovation Center, it's housed within Southwest Technical College. So that's who I'm employed by is Southwest Technical College. But it's really unique because of the partnerships that we have there. So I guess first out, just a really high level overview of the Business and Innovation Center is we're there to support small businesses, local entrepreneurs. So whether they have an idea and they want to turn it into a business or create a new product, or they have an existing business, they want some help with it, we try and make it a one-stop shop where we can help anybody. So that's kind of the very high level overview is we support local businesses and help them any way we can. And it's a free resource for them too.
Do you want to highlight which partners are part of the Business and Innovation Center? Because it's really awesome how many partners are involved with that.
Yeah, for sure. So the city is one with your economic development team. There's a grant that comes through the city that provides some of our operating costs. So that's what a large part of what makes it free for community members. And then a key partnership is SUU. So the SUU Business Resource Center has been there for a long time, a lot of years. And the Innovation Center is newer. And so the SUU Business Resource Center there, where they have the Small Business Development Center and Apex, which is where you can go get small business consulting. They can help with government contracting, help you with your business plan, put together a marketing plan, prep your paperwork to go get a business loan, like all kinds of small business consulting. Again, that's completely free. And then Southwest Tech came in and created more the Innovation Center side with more of the technical help. Mm-hmm. So we've got a makerspace where we've got 3D printers, laser engravers. We've got a digital media studio, and now it used to maybe be the nicest one in town. Now Dallas built this, but it's just some really, really nice resources. We've got hat presses and heat presses so clients can make hats and shirts and all kinds of different swag. We have a sublimation printer, so there's all kinds of technical help. And then we're also right there by the Cedar City Area Chamber of Commerce, the Women's Business Center. We have SCORE that helps with mentorships. And then just all kinds of partnerships within the community.
You have SBDC there as well, right?
Yep, SBDC, okay. So the Small Business Development Center, Joni and Grace in there. A lot of the local businesses know them because they've worked with them over the years.
I think the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity is a partner as well in that Innovation Center. And that's part of where the funding through Cedar City and Iron County economic development comes from is through the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity as well. So
Right. Yep.
yeah, I'm hoping we're not missing any of the partners that are listed on the wall there. But there's what I really wanted to emphasize is that the Business and Innovation Center, it's exactly that. It is a local hub for supporting business and primarily small business and startups. But there's lots of resources there to help business get going. I mean, the studio that you talked about, it's just a little, soundproofed room where if there wasn't a studio like this that Dallas had, we could schedule each week to do a podcast there if we wanted, right?
Yep.
Tell more about some of the other things that are done there.
Yeah. So it's probably been the most used room. I've been there at the Innovation Center for about 2 years. And during that 2 years, I think that's used more than any other resource we have. And I think that's because any business can benefit from having pictures and videos for their website, for their social media, for a YouTube channel, their podcast, whatever it might be. Every business can benefit from it. And the beauty of it is that, one, it's free. So they're able to do this without any cost. And now we obviously have some limitations. We can't be producing a 2-hour video for you every single week. Right. So we have an intern that's in there. So you don't have to know how to use the equipment either. We can teach you how to use it. We can help you use it. So we have an SU student that's an intern in there. So she'll help do the recording, take the pictures. She can help a little bit with the editing side of it, and help them get something together so that they have some really good professional looking pictures or videos that they can use on their website and social media.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then same with all the other equipment we have too, the 3D printers, laser engravers. We can help you with the prototyping with a 3D design. We'll help you engrave things on the laser engraver. So we don't want people to be intimidated to come in because they don't know how to use. I mean, I still don't know how to use all the equipment. We have staff that is really good with each piece of equipment. I couldn't go into SolidWorks and design you a new product, but we've got a mechanical engineering student that can come in, really, really sharp individuals that can help you with whatever area you need help in.
Yeah. The 3D printer thing, I always see I know people that have 3D printers before it was even a hip thing to do. And now you see all these little videos on Facebook and some of the things they're making. My brother got a 3D printer, just a little, I think he called it like a little starter family 3D printer. And I thought they were going to make like little keychains or something cutesy, And then he sends in the family video, he 3D printed a full prototype of one of those Star Trek tasers or something. And I thought, oh, that's cool. It's just one solid thing. But then he started taking it apart and it had all these pieces that were all connected together. And I was like, what? It was just like a TV prop that he created, but it was so cool. It's like a really cool toy that you'd buy at the store, but maybe even a better quality. I was shocked. I still don't fully understand how that all works. There must be plans that they get online and they put into the machine or the computer that tells the machine how and what to print, but it's so cool. I don't know, what are you familiar with some of the cool businesses or projects that have come through there that maybe you'd want to brag on or talk about a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of really cool ones that come to mind. One that kind of got us started off on the right foot, a really cool one from when we first started was Eco Dripper. And so everybody that's been involved with the Innovation Center knows about that because they basically wanted to see how fast they could get a new product. So it's, people have heard of the globe that's gravity fed. So the water will slowly drip down into a plant. You stab it down into a plant and it slowly drips into it. But he felt like those were still overwatering plants. And so he found a way to kind of stop the water and pool the water. And then the roots create suction when they need water. And so it would pull the water down as it needed it. So within a 30-day time period, all in the Innovation Center, they prototyped that, printed it on the 3D printer, kept changing the prototype. He went through 7 or 8 different prototypes, and then got it dialed into how he wanted. And after about a month, they had it on the shelf in Ace Hardware. So that was
really
a really cool one. They did it fast. Now he's, had an injection mold done where you can do thousands and thousands of them at a time. And
Wow.
It's grown since then, but one just recently. So that was like probably the first successful new product that came out of the Innovation Center. But a really cool one just in the last couple of months and still growing now or kind of finalizing it now, is there's a local band director that had an issue with their drum keys. So their drum keys that they have to carry around, they're just kind of awkward to have in your pocket, doesn't fit very well. And so he saw an opportunity I could make this better. It's not most new products. It's not like you have to have this new idea of something that's never existed before. A lot of times it's an existing product that you can make better.
Refine it.
Right. Yeah. Right. You find a pain point. What do you not like about it? And how can you make it better, more convenient, more valuable to the consumer?
Right.
So he noticed this issue. He said, band directors, drummers everywhere have this issue because it's just kind of a bulky, awkward thing to have in your pocket. So he saw an opportunity. So he came, met with us, no experience with 3D printers or anything, at least that I know of. And so he sat down with our intern there. That's a mechanical engineering student. And he helped him do a 3D design of it, do some 3D prints of it. And so he got a prototype where he was like, okay, I think I like this.
Yeah.
But he's like, I have no idea where to get this manufactured. Like, what do I do now? He's like, I'm a band director. I'm not a business person. I don't know where to go.
That's how most good businesses start out.
Right. Yeah. So you don't have to be a business expert. A lot of times the business experts aren't the expert in each of these fields where products need to be created. So we connected him. There's a local manufacturing business called Lone Wolf Precision. So he's got a CNC machine and a nice little shop. And he's willing to take on smaller clients because a lot of these bigger manufacturers, you got to order thousands of units at a time.
Right.
And so he'll actually help them refine the product too. He'll help them with some of the prototyping. And so we connected them with another local business here in Cedar City. So obviously we're all about that. Anything that we can keep it all local.
Create the synergy there.
Yeah. And so just last week we had a client luncheon and he brought in the finished prototype that they have that was made here in this local CNC machine. And so that one was just really cool. The other one ended up being manufactured overseas, but this one was just really cool because from idea to now a finished product, and it's all been done right here in Cedar City.
Oh, that's amazing.
So that's been a really cool highlight just in the last couple of weeks that has been more getting finalized.
So do you have, and this might not be the case, but one of the first things that came to my mind as you're describing these products, does the Business and Innovation Center have resources to walk people how to go through doing a patent on something that they've created?
So we don't have like a patent lawyer in-house. We have some that other clients have used, that we can help connect you with.
Yeah.
And we can help you do some of the research side of that. And that's more like the SBDC side, through the SU Business Center. And that's where it's so nice that we're right there next to each other.
Right.
Is that everybody that comes and meets with me, I encourage them to go meet with the SBDC, to sit down with Joni or Grayson, go through your business plan, just kind of make sure all your ducks are in a row.
Right.
And then at some point you're probably going to need additional help from them. So just establishing that relationship early on. But they can help you do some of the research. We have some mentors, some retired, successful business owners that want to give back by helping the next generation succeed. And so there's one that comes to mind that usually if they have a new product, they're thinking about a patent, I usually recommend them to meet with him. His name's Tom Dungle.
Okay.
He's taken over 100 products to market.
Wow.
And so just, very experienced with that's what he's done with his career. That's what he's passionate. He still just does it for fun. And so I usually encourage him, the clients, to meet with him.
Right.
If nothing else, sit down and brainstorm their product. He's always got other ideas to throw out, things that they could consider changing. But then, exploring, is it worth it to go after a patent with this? Is it not? And kind of the timing, when is the right timing to go after a patent? So, as much, we try and be a one-stop shop, but obviously we can't do everything in-house, but we do our best to, when we can't help you in-house, we'll try and connect you with the right person that'll help you take that next step.
Well, a lot of times finding the right mentors really helps with business, in most anything, to be honest. But in business in particular, if you're like a band teacher who's never designed something, or whatever your idea might be, I mean, half the battle of a startup or of a small business is and I've talked about this on the podcast before, is, you may know your industry really well. And I always use the example of a baker. But sometimes you may know how to bake a beautiful cake and decorate it, but the finance side you may have never done before.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And that's why we have these resources, is to help guide you, create a business plan, and help walk you through what you need to make sure you're doing. I mean, even just if you've never had to get a business license before, I remember one time I had to help someone set up, and I was like, I don't know. Do we do a business license through the city, the county? Do I have to do it through the state? Is it all three? I didn't know, and so having the resources and individuals can mentor you and walk you through some of that is such a huge help. So,
yeah.
So, okay, the Business and Innovation Center, we've talked about the makerspace. We've talked about kind of the soundproof room to make videos or audio or whatever kind of productions, multimedia productions. What are other things at the Business Innovation Center? We talked about some of the organizations that their offices are housed there too, but what are other resources there or programs that are run out of that facility?
Yeah. So, without naming every piece of equipment, I mentioned there's like the sublimation printer, we've got a vinyl cutter, sewing machine, embroidery machine, things like that. Some really awesome staff members there. Mikkel Staple, he's a lifesaver at the Innovation Center. He's really good with all the equipment. So we can help you with all that. In addition to that, we've got a conference room that we make available for clients to use. So whether you want to have a team brainstorming meeting or some of the others, I think you've had Dippers here on the podcast. They've come in and interviewed employees there because their little shop, they don't really have room to interview employees there. And so they're able to come do that. And it's a nice professional conference room that they can use. And then we've got some shared co-working space. So a lot of our clients running their own business out of their home, their basement, garage, wherever. And so it gives them a nice quiet place to come in and work. Especially, we've got some clients that come in a couple times a week and they have some office space at home, but they have young kids that are always coming into that office. So it just gives them a place that feels more like an office environment.
Right.
And then one of probably the program that we're the most famous for at the Innovation Center, we call it the Hive. It's our accelerated launch program. And Dallas actually used the Hive as well when he was getting started.
And I want to say one of our other guests on the podcast utilized the Hive and talked about that as well, right?
Yeah.
So,
Diane.
Yeah, Diane.
Yeah.
That's right. Why don't you go into a little more detail about what the Hive is and maybe how people can get involved with that?
Yeah. So the Hive is a 6-month cohort. So we run 2 of those every year. And that's more competitive to get into. So if you want to come use the Innovation Center, anybody that is working on a business idea, you can come in, take advantage of the resources that we offer there. But the Hive, we only have room for 5 businesses every 6 months. So about 10 businesses a year.
Okay.
So that's where it's a little more competitive to get into. And that's because we're giving them some seed funding and a little more individualized help. So what it is during this 6 months, you're committing to work at least 20 hours per week on your business. So you have to really commit because, a lot of these businesses, they're starting as a side hustle. They're they're in school full time or they're working full time. Or both sometimes.
Right.
So just a million things going on. So you have to be willing to put in the time to really see some progress during that 6-month cohort. So there's the 20-hour week commitment, and then you're also committing to coming in every week we do an in-person group meeting with those 5 businesses. Myself, we have an accountability partner that kind of runs those meetings. And so it's for accountability with goal setting. What are you going to work on this week? What progress are you going to make with your business? And then next week we'll reevaluate, see where you were at on those goals. What can we adjust? What can we do better moving forward? And then they also do a one-on-one meeting with our accountability partner every week. Just to kind of refine those goals, take a deep dive into their specific goals, their business, what they want to work on that week. And that's been a really positive experience. There's a lot of cool businesses that have come out of that. Even, you look at Dallas and the studio he's built here, the difference it's making in the community. Dallas probably would have been successful without the Hive too, but I think he would vouch for just how helpful it is to have that weekly accountability meeting where, I've got to get this done because somebody's going to ask me, why didn't you? So the accountability piece too, we can also help you with that. Even if you're not in the Hive, we're still happy to, we'll put it on the calendar. You want us to follow up with you once a month or once a week, whatever it might be. Just because that accountability piece, when you're your own boss and there's a million things, you mentioned kind of the broad, range of responsibilities that you have. You're doing all the financials and the bookkeeping and the marketing, and you do everything when you start a business.
And all you really care about is the cool idea you had or the business you had, but you've got to manage all these other things for your cool idea to come to fruition, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So how do people apply if they want to participate in the Hive, or how do they learn more about it?
So just on our website, it's innovationcenter.cc for Cedar City. And so you can go there, and then there's a business startup right there on the homepage. You click on that, and then it'll show you there's either the extended startup launch, which it just has a client intake form. So we have people fill that out.
Okay. Cool.
If they just want to come use the resources. And then there's the Hive accelerated startup launch. And that's what you would go and fill out if you want to participate in the Hive. They're very similar. It's just so that we can learn some about your business. But then the Hive one just has a little bit more. That one will ask you to upload your business plan. It'll ask you to upload a little 2-minute video describing your business. Again, just because that one's more competitive to get into, it helps us see a little bit more about your business in deciding, who gets into that Hive cohort. And then we've got a committee that reviews those applications. And ultimately what we're looking for is which of these businesses can we have the greatest impact in? So, with this seed money, it's about $3,000 that we give them in seed funding. So with the seed money, the accountability help, the weekly meetings, which of these businesses, which 5 can we take in here that we're really going to see an impact on, that can really grow and get started? And it's been really fun to see too. I think we've done, 5 cohorts now. And it's usually the 5 businesses are usually from very different industries. Yeah. And so it's fun because those weekly meetings kind of turn into brainstorming sessions. And it's fun to see people from totally different industries because they bring a new perspective that, if you're a marketing company and there's a landscaping company in there, you probably have pretty different backgrounds and different experience. But it's fun to see how helpful that is to have so many different perspectives in those weekly accountability and brainstorming meetings.
And I think that's some of the idea, right? Hence the Hive. You're bringing these entrepreneurs together to brainstorm and help their individual efforts, but in a collective way, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So if people don't have a business plan and those types of things, those other resources that we were talking about earlier can help you from ground zero to getting to a point where maybe you can apply to be in the Hive, right? And the Hive is beyond the Hive too. There's a small business grant that the city does in conjunction with the Business and Innovation Center,
right?
And some of the partners there, which Dallas was also a recipient of. That helped kind of fund this studio that we're doing this podcast in, right?
Yeah.
If somebody wants to take their business to the Innovation Center, do they have to check out? How do they go and use some of that maker space, or how do they use the co-working space? Who do they need to talk to do that?
Yeah, so I usually recommend that they come in and do a tour first, which again, you can schedule those on the website, innovationcenter.cc. Right there on their homepage, there's a link to schedule a tour. So myself and Brandon both have our schedules available to give tours. So you would choose on there, select a day and time, come in, do a tour. That's where we usually show you around all the equipment, kind of explain how everything works. And then from there, we'll have you fill out the client intake forms that we have you on file and everything. And then we can show our funding sources to, how many different types of businesses that we're helping, how often the space is being used, all of that stuff. And then from there, you just reserve it on the website. You can go in, our scheduling system has all of our equipment. So you can go reserve the studio, the conference room, you can reserve the 3D printers, the laser engravers. And when you do that too, it gives you the option to select a staff member to be there with you when you use it as well. So that way, if you know how to use the equipment and we've made sure that, you're trained and know how to use it, then you don't have to have a staff member there, working with you, showing you how to do it. But a lot of the clients are a lot more comfortable with the staff member there. So it gives you that option too. So yeah, it's all just through a scheduling system that we use. It's called Setmore. And we, just have that on the website. So it makes it pretty simple and streamlined for us.
So what if I don't have a business, but I want to just kind of go dink around with some ideas? I mean, can somebody go and do that?
Yeah. So we don't want it to be just a hobby, just somebody
just making 1980s action figures for their collection or something like that.
Right. Exactly. Okay. And that's because, we have this economic development grant. So we want it to be fostering local business and entrepreneurship. But like you said, if you're playing around with potential products and business ideas, then that's how a lot of great businesses, a lot of great new products are started. Right. Is by being able to explore those ideas. And I think a big barrier to people doing that is the upfront cost of it, that they have to go buy their own 3D printer or pay to use one. And then you're paying for the filament and everything. And especially if you don't have experience with a 3D printer, that's a big investment to make if you don't really know the capabilities. So that's the whole idea behind it being free too. A lot of innovation centers will at least charge you for the materials you're using, if not more. We're happy to cover all of that for you as long as you're exploring business ideas.
That's awesome. Here's an off the cuff one. What if I'm a musician and I just need a good place to record and create some media to put out my music? Is that something like that? You know, I mean, I know maybe if you just have your little family group and you want to record your own song, probably not that. But if you're a musician that's trying to put yourself out there, that's something that you would say is probably workable.
Yeah. It's still, somebody exploring that business idea wants to get their music out there. And we would still be happy to help people with things like that. And again, we will help them as much as we can. And then at some point though, if it's somebody that, they're doing a YouTube channel where they're putting out videos daily, they're probably going to need more help than what we can provide. I mean, we do have a client that runs his own YouTube channel that'll come once a week and he knows how to use all the equipment. And so he does it. He'll schedule a time when the studio's empty, the intern's not in there working. But at some point, if they need a lot of production help, we're going to refer them to somebody like Dallas and a business that can really help them with the production side of it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't know. I might have to go pull up some old college demos that I had for, my rock out songs and record a few. And then if I become famous, a rock star, I'll give a shout out to the Cedar City Business and Innovation Center, for selling my multi-platinum records or something.
There we go. The place where it all started right there.
Right here, the Cedar City Business Innovation Center. Just got to think of a good band name now. That's always half the battle, but...
Yeah. Okay. But so as long as they're exploring a business opportunity, because ultimately that's what we want to see come out of the Innovation Center is we want to see local businesses succeed, new businesses be started. And that's all helping our local economy, providing more jobs. That's the successes we want to see come out of there.
Cool. Well, let's shift gears a little bit. So you're also a business owner yourself, Squatch Threads, right?
Yep.
And you're producing, why don't you tell me more about Squatch Threads and what it is, and then maybe dive into how you got started.
Okay. Yeah. So Squatch Threads, a lot of people ask, why the name Squatch Threads. So kind of funny how it goes. So a good friend of mine, Derek Lauder, him and his wife, they had actually already gone and reserved the name Squatch Threads because Sasquatch is such a huge fad. And so they were going to make it a clothing and apparel business, do some fun Sasquatch things. And so they do all the design work. So if you've seen our logo, the Sasquatch face done local. They live out in Enoch,
Okay.
but they did all the design work, designed that. But they hadn't really done anything with it yet. Derek and I had been friends. We both used to work at SUU. We'd been friends for quite some years and just kept in contact. Always talked about starting different businesses. And so then one day we were at lunch and just talking businesses, and he was like, what if because we have this domain name Squatch Threads, we haven't done anything with it. We were thinking like clothing and apparel, but you're very involved in pickleball. What if we made this a pickleball business? And so I was like, okay, like that's, and a possibility. And so we kind of played with the idea for a little while. And when we started looking into like manufacturing paddles and things like that, that was the pain point for me. So we talked, a lot of businesses start because of a pain point. Most of my friends are spending $200 to $300 on their paddles.
That just blows my mind
right.
that somebody would spend that much, but continue. Yeah, that's crazy.
So paddles have gotten really expensive. And so you wanted a really nice paddle, you're looking at, at least $150. And
wow.
And paddles still wear out after a while. And so it's like every year you're buying another $200 paddle. And so that was the pain point for me. Is I was like, there's gotta be a way we can make these cheaper than that. Without sacrificing on quality. And so I wanted to have a really good high quality paddle that we could offer at more affordable prices. And so that was my goal with it. Is I want these paddles to be just as good as these really expensive paddles, but I want to keep our price point under $100.
Yeah.
And then Derek and his wife, they were really big on the design side of it and doing some fun designs on the paddles. So it's been a fun dynamic there. And then I think you asked like kind of how I got involved in pickleball, some of that.
Yeah. We'll get into you're a pickleball connoisseur. I've come to learn. So I want to know like about the paddle though. Like, did you use the maker space at all to help create some of the design and stuff with that, or you already kind of know the drill and so you didn't really need that, and that may be the case. I don't know. Tell a little more about that.
With pickleball, it's hard to build your own, but there's people that have looked at trying to 3D print different paddles and stuff.
That's what I was curious about. Are you in there 3D printing a paddle or?
But there's very specific guidelines. There's the USA Pickleball Association. And so each paddle has to be approved. Like if you want to play in a tournament, then you have to have an approved paddle. So they have to be, certain dimensions and what it's made of. And, like it can't be too like springy. And I don't know if springy is a word, but
where it's like shooting the ball out.
Right. So people have tried different things with different paddles where the ball comes off really fast.
Yeah.
And so they have to be within certain guidelines.
Interesting.
And so there's already some manufacturers that are very aware of all those guidelines and can make sure it's within guidelines. And then there's, certain materials that you can't use. So it's like, the interior is a honeycomb polypropylene, I think is how you say it. It's got carbon fiber finish, a granular paint finish on it. So there's a lot that goes into it, but there's only like so much you can do as far as like innovating it while staying within the guidelines. Yeah. So we didn't use like the makerspace a whole lot for that, but I use it, we make, some hats in there. And so we'll cut out leather patches on the laser engraver and engrave our logo.
Oh, really cool.
And so we buy like the Richardson 112 hats, and then I'll make them myself in there. So we do use the Innovation Center, but as far as like building these paddles, not so much.
So how did you find a manufacturer for that?
So both my business partner and I, we had researched a little bit. We would have loved to keep all the manufacturing. Like there's nobody in Cedar that's manufacturing pickleball paddles.
to regulation.
Right. Yeah. And even just in the US, it was really hard to find somebody that could do the quality within the price point that we were looking for. So we had to go overseas. So we researched some different ones overseas. Again, we're a small fish in the pickleball realm. So some of them had really, really large order quantities. And so we found one that seemed to do some really good work, and they do some paddles for some big name companies as well. And so they have a good reputation. And so we decided to give them a try. And we've had some little hiccups here and there, but for the most part, we've been really happy with them. And doing the manufacturing there, there's challenges with it. Our inventory management, we'll do a Christmas sale and sell a bunch, and then it's slow, but all of a sudden it's like, oh no, we're almost sold out. And then it takes 6 to 8 weeks to get new product in. So, I think that's been a fun experience too. And that my whole day job is helping local businesses succeed, but I'd never owned a product based business. I'd owned some service based businesses. So it's been a fun learning experience for me too, to have to learn things like, how do you go find a manufacturer? And, there's whatever industry you're in, there probably are different guidelines and specs. A lot of the food industry, they have to make sure all the health regulations, they're within those. So I think any industry too, it's going to be a whole new learning curve, but starting this business, I've learned a lot too. And so I feel like it's helped me in my daytime job as well.
Yeah. It gives you firsthand experience on what your clients, these other businesses, you're trying to help them do. Right. And so oh yes, I get what you're saying there. And it's interesting how you refer to these areas of idea as pain points. Because that a lot of times that is where ideas come from. I've often referred to them as like a gap in the market or something where it's like, why doesn't somebody just make this one thing between X and Y, that clearly we all need? And but pain point is an interesting way to look at it too, is there's a lot of products that are already out there and you're like, I just wish they would make this one little tweak. Yep, exactly. To make it better, right? To make it more efficient for my use, and it for me, there's software. So like a lot of government softwares out there, and these companies that hone in on government clients. Yep. I just feel like the softwares are so overcomplicated, not user friendly. Like there's some companies that do government websites, and oh my gosh, they're atrocious. And it's because some governments need like really complicated uses. But then you go and you look at like Wix.com and you can just drag and drop your own website, throw in a pay, a pay thing there and connect whatever things. And I've always thought, why doesn't someone go take the complicated government websites and make them as user friendly than this, or somewhere in the middle? You know what I mean? And I'm going off about that because I think we all have some pain point of a product or a service we use that's almost there, but not quite what we're needing. And sometimes the pain point is the price, right? Where it's, you want this product, but does it really need to cost that much? And that's where you see a lot of startup businesses use like Amazon and things like that to get their products out there. I know, oh gosh, Dallas, what is the drone company that everybody uses? Like DJI, is that what it is? I remember years ago when drones first started coming out, I found a little DJI drone that was super cheap on Amazon. And I never heard of this company. It just seemed like another overseas company. And now that is like one of the premier drone companies everybody uses. And so anyways, I'm blabbing now a little bit, but back to pickleball. I want to go more into pickleball. So years ago, I might have told you this. I can't remember. I worked out in Florida and we had a professional tennis coach on our Parks and Rec, kind of like how golf courses have a pro that works the course, right? Right, yep. And he had actually trained like Serena Williams and when they were in Venus, right, is her sister's name, when they were young. And around this time, pickleball was just barely kind of starting out and becoming popular. And he was really anti-pickleball because, he was a big tennis guy. Yeah. And so he started what he called, and it already existed, like slow tennis, where it was like a tennis ball that the bounce was a little more muffled, so it wasn't quite as fast and just made it easier for maybe the common Joe. Yeah. And I thought, look at how popular this pickleball thing's coming. Why they call it pickleball, I don't know. Maybe you can educate me here in a minute. But and I just saw at first it really started with the elderly people. And I think that's why he was really honing in on slow tennis is like, there's other options or whatever, and we can use our existing courts. But all the people I saw, especially out in Florida, were elderly people. But then over the years, that's why I kind of laughed when you said a pickleball paddle's $200. And then you start talking about a professional association. I'm like, it's gone from, kind of a recreational thing that some elderly people were doing to this booming thing where cities, communities, rec centers, they're all clamoring to have pickleball courts. I think down in Washington County, didn't they just open up like one of the largest outdoor pickleball facilities? I don't know if that's in the area or whatever, but anyways, I'm not even asking a question. I'm just talking about what I've seen in pickleball. And so and here's my question is, how have you seen pickleball grow, and talk a little bit about the pickleball community here in Cedar City and Iron County?
Yeah. So, you're totally right. It's just exploded the last few years. So it was actually first started in Washington State, and I'm pretty sure it was 1965 when they first
Really?
Yeah, these guys.
Well, and they use it's like a little wiffle ball. That's right. All it is, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it started just from what I understand, some guys playing in their driveway there. And so as far as the name, I think there's two different main theories, but the one that seems to be like, this is where it started, is that those guys playing in their driveway. And apparently the dog's name was Pickles, and the dog would always go grab the ball, and then they named it.
That's the story we need to go with.
Yeah, so we'll go with that. I don't know if that's true, but
baseball, when you're in a pickle and it's going back and forth, that's what I was thinking maybe it came from. But a dog named Pickles, you've heard it, the legend. I mean, that goes along with the legends of like the Sasquatch, while we're here. Yeah. So
yeah. So, but anyway, it seemed to stay pretty small for a long time. And then, the last 10 years or so, it used to, like you said, used to be seen as like, oh, it's the old person sport. And now I probably shouldn't admit it here, but I play in tournaments pretty frequently, and I've lost to a 12-year-old kid in a tournament. So it's fun to see, a lot of younger kids getting into it now, tons of people, the college students, the SUU courts are always packed now. So it's just been growing really fast. So like you mentioned, most cities now are getting courts. And so St. George is where I would always go for tournaments, because they have the Little Valley pickleball complex there. And it used to be 24 courts. And then just in the last year or two, they put another $1 million into it to where it's 32 courts, and they did a big championship court now. Wow. And they host part of the PPA tour there. So all the pros come and play in St. George every April. Southern Utah, bringing it in. Yeah, exactly. And that's one for that tournament. I think last year they had about 1,000 players registered for it. So again, it's great for the local businesses, brings people in from all over the country that, you wouldn't believe the way people will travel to go play pickleball. And so in Cedar City, I felt like we were a little bit behind for a while. Like St. George, they have these nice complexes. They're running all these leagues. And here we just had the 6 SUU courts that thankfully we had those for a lot of years. And thankfully SUU is so friendly with those that they opened it up to the community and let the community play there. So when I was in school, I took a pickleball class. They offer it as an elective class where you can go take a 1-credit class. Sandy Bryant was teaching it. A lot of the locals know her. She was, I think she was a tennis coach too, but then got really involved in pickleball. And so I took it as a student. I loved it, took it again, met some good friends through there. And these friends were, thankfully they were really nice. Like they weren't nice as far as beating me. They would just beat me every time so bad. So they were all way better than I was. But I had a lot of fun. We'd rotate teammates. No matter who I played with, I'd lose every time. But I was learning a lot. And so I was just getting hooked, and I was like, man, I gotta get to where I compete with these guys. Yeah. And so that's just where I kind of got hooked, started playing with them a lot to where I could get, playing pretty competitive. And then my wife, her family member, my wife was actually the one that first introduced me to it. Okay. She has some family members that are really, really big into it, really good players. So my wife and I, we had to do, it was called an Edge project at SUU. They don't have it anymore, but it basically some type of community service project that you could do. And so I was like, does running a pickleball tournament count as a service project? So we got it approved to do that, where that's what we did as our Edge project. And it was a big hit. There's a lot more signups than we thought. A lot of the community members were really excited about it. And it went really well. So that was a lot of fun. Then fast forward a year or two from then, Sandy Bryant was retiring, and so they needed a new person to be the pickleball instructor for that course.
Oh, really?
And so they were like, well, Jeremy ran this tournament. He knows something about pickleball at least. And
you went from getting crushed to being the instructor.
Yeah, gotcha. Exactly. So I started teaching that, I think, fall of 2020. So it's coming up on 5 years now that I've been teaching that. And then we, started running a league that we got approval through SUU. Again, so the number one compliment that I get through the Innovation Center and just Cedar City as a whole is how well we collaborate with others. So SUU being willing to, go outside of the norm, not have this just be a student thing, but we had to reserve a certain number of spots for students. But then we could also open it up to the community. And so we were able to start running some leagues there at the SUU courts. And then I think that, at least I like to think it helped when the city council was considering getting courts, and, they saw it's expensive to put in courts. But they could see the numbers we had, how fast these leagues that we were offering sell out. And so I think it gave some confidence in like, okay, we build these pickleball courts, they'll actually be used. And I think there was still some skepticism. Do we really need 8 courts when we build some city courts here, and will they all get used? And anybody that's driven by the courts now, I mean, this time of year when it's so cold, obviously they're not being used as much. But those 8 courts that we have here in Cedar City now, a really nice complex, and they are used a ton. There's always people there waiting to play.
Yeah. Well, and I think some of the trepidation is, especially a city is going to put money into an infrastructure. And if you think about some of the like racquetball courts or the tennis courts of the 80s that when that was super popular were built, and a lot of them you see cracked and never used anymore, right? And so I think cities are looking at that saying, are we going to invest in pickleball? Is it just going to be a phase like that?
Right.
And maybe 20 years from now, maybe it does die off. But I think, and probably not. And the reason why is I think that, and I'm sorry to interject here.
No, you're good.
I think other than the $200 paddles to be some pro, pickleball is really an accessible sport.
Yeah.
Not just in cost, because you could go buy a $20 paddle somewhere, online. It may not meet all your regulation, right?
Right. But yeah, you can go get a cheap Amazon one or Walmart or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. But it's accessible as far as all abilities, right?
Yeah.
It started off with a lot of elderly people, or at least that's where it started getting really popular. To a kid, I've played pickleball. Yeah, like I'm pretty sure my children have beat me in pickleball as well, and the few times that we've played. But yeah, it's really accessible, and a lot of people can play. You don't have to be this incredible athlete to get out there and get involved, right?
Yeah, and that's where you mentioned, like a lot of tennis players used to, be like, oh yeah, pickleball's not a real sport, because tennis, tennis, you have a much bigger court. It takes a lot more skill and development, I would say, for tennis.
There's a level of a little more, maybe you can't say more athleticism, but the ball's moving faster, right? You have to, anyways, it's a different skill set.
Yeah, they're different sports for sure. A lot of tennis players do pick up on pickleball really fast, because, the form, the strokes and everything, a lot of it. Yeah. But it is tennis players, then the slow game of pickleball can be really important. So sometimes it's tough for tennis players to adjust to that. But yeah, so I have friends that played college tennis that are now pickleball players. So a lot of them are starting to convert a little bit, or a lot of them will tell you, no, I won't convert, but I'll play both.
That's right.
But no, the way that one of my friends that played college tennis described it to me, he said, I can go out and I can hit a pickleball around with my mom and we can enjoy it and have fun. Like, I can't really do that in tennis. So I love pickleball because it's a sport that anybody can pick up a paddle and play. enjoy it and have fun. But it's also something, if you want to get really competitive and strategic with it, you can also do that. And yeah, it gets really, really competitive.
Right.
Some of the tennis pros now are even starting to look at pickleball and become pickleball pros.
Yeah,
and,
right.
And yeah, it's growing. You mentioned the growth of it. Even ESPN now has had some pickleball on ESPN.
Fabulous.
So
they need to have, you know what, it should be the true mascot for pickleball is just some like Labrador, a dog named Pickles or something with our new legend. But that is true what you said about, you know, you can't necessarily play tennis with maybe your mom unless, you know, I mean, there's some hardcore moms out there. Like I used to play racquetball with my stepmom, and she would crush me. And one time my dad got mad at me because the ball came flying back and gave her a bruise on the leg or whatever, but she was beating me, you know, all the time. It's not like but pickleball, well, I should say it the other way. I tried when I was in Florida playing tennis with my kids, and it was just too fast for them. The courts were too big, you know, it was hard. But then I played pickleball with my kids, and it's something that they can do. You can play more on their level. You know, when you hit it, pickleball soft versus a tennis ball soft, it glides different, right? Yeah. and it makes it so you can play with someone else, and still have fun doing it.
Yeah, and I better clarify with the mom thing, because I play pickleball with a lot of moms, and a lot of them will kick my butt in pickleball. So it's not saying that as like oh yeah, my mom can play it. Anybody can. No, there's a lot of moms that are really, really, and here locally too, there's a lot of mom groups that'll go play middle of the day, and some really, really good players. And that's what's fun is I mentioned I lost to a 12-year-old kid. I've also lost to some people that are probably 3 times my age. Like there's some old people that just because it's not all power, a lot of it's placement as well. And so, yeah, it's something that anybody any age.
Point, right?
Yeah, exactly.
No matter what your level of ability is, you can go play and still beat Jeremy Waite. So,
which might not be saying much.
Oh, that's funny.
No, but it's been fun to see too, even here locally. So we started offering some city leagues and tournaments. And so the city, you know, we met with Ken Nielsen over Leisure Services to see if they were going to start offering these leagues, and they didn't really have anybody that can do it at least yet. And so Brian Comerick and I kind of put it together, and we're running it through the city to make it more affordable for everybody. And so, you know, kind of like contracting us to run these leagues. And, you know, at first we started offering like 2 leagues at a time, and we can fit 40 people. So we do 5 people to a court. So with the 8 courts, we can do 40 people in each league. So we started off with 2 leagues. We've got 80 spots. They sold out in like 15 minutes.
Wow.
And so we're like, now each of us run separate leagues. We're offering 4 leagues. So we've got 160 spots, and we still usually sell those out. Not quite as fast now. Still with 120 spots, we sold out in less than an hour. So then we added a 4th one.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's growing here locally too. There's another local business that's coming this year in 2025. Spencer Eaton has announced that they're going to open over off of Highway 56, an indoor pickleball place. So that way, this time of year when it's really cold, not as many people are playing outside. Yeah. They're going to have 6 indoor courts there. And it'll be nice indoor courts. So SU is generous. They let us play in their gym too, but a gym floor is quite a bit different. So this indoor place, it'll have outdoor court surfacing, in a big warehouse type of facility. So it's, awesome. He's hoping to break ground in the next month or 2. And hoping to open fall of 2025. So another fun local business coming.
Yeah. Well, I want to kind of end, kind of tying it a little bit back to the Innovation Center and your day job, we'll say.
Yeah.
And thanks so much for delving into the pickleball stuff with me too.
I could do that all day.
Yeah, that's how I am with the running. Like if somebody were just to start talking running on this podcast, I could probably waste a whole episode or a year's worth of episodes about that. But one thing you said actually while talking about pickleball was the level of collaboration. That's something that I've said here about Iron County and Cedar City from the get-go. In fact, a lot of places I've been, it's very siloed, territorial. And Cedar City, the pendulum's the other way. It's so collaborative. We almost have too many collaborative groups in the community that seem to even overlap over each other, which is a better problem.
Right.
You hold a regular meeting, collaboration meeting. Tell me tell our audience who's part of those meetings. Why do you hold it, and how does it benefit the community? What are you trying to achieve with this collaboration meeting that you hold every month, right?
Yeah.
We have that.
Yeah. So we hold it once a month. We call it a steering committee meeting. Kind of the idea of it is to foster collaboration and reduce duplication of efforts. So it's been amazing. Even sometimes you would think maybe these are competing, like SU and Southwest Tech could potentially be competing over higher education students. But what do? They go and create I'm spacing on
the dual enrollment.
Yeah. So they have this dual enrollment program where now students can transfer their credits and be enrolled in both Southwest. Actually, now anytime if a student enrolls at one or the other, if a student comes and enrolls at Southwest Tech, they get a T number. And they can enjoy like the student life of SUU as well, because the tech college doesn't have so much of that. So the collaboration, and so at those meetings we have several folks from SUU. There's the SUU Community and Professional Development, SUU Business Center with the SBDC, several of the deans like the School of Business, College of Engineering, and then there's Southwest Tech folks, myself with the Innovation Center, you with the city, Maria Twitchell with Iron County Tourism, Cedar City and Iron County Tourism, John Oglesby with the Utah Summer Games, Department of Workforce Services. So just all kinds of different local community resources.
Even
that
the
come
governor's
together.
office of economic opportunity. Inland Port, Denny Stewart. And Colette Cox with Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity, 5 County Association of Governments come. So state resources, city, county, local SUU, Southwest Tech. And what's the real premise of this collaborative group when it comes to the business community? Why are we doing this?
So most of these entities are focused either on small business development and or workforce development. And so the idea is to come together. How can we work together? What upcoming events do you have or opportunities that we can collaborate, that we can all participate in? Sometimes it's just helping spread the word for these events. Sometimes it's partnering on these events to actually make them happen. And so, it's finding ways to work together in the community. Oftentimes you see 2 different entities within the community that end up running some events on the same day, or they're running very similar events in a close time frame. And so we've seen some of those where those come up and they decide, hey, let's just go on this together. We'll work together on it. And so, we've seen a lot of success come out of that, where putting our brains together and our resources together to make, rather than having 2 different events that might compete with each other, work together on it. We'll make it one big, really successful event. Right. So.
And the reason why I wanted it to kind of end with that is I want people to see and understand how, what a vital role the Business and Innovation Center plays in our community and how it supports business. It's not just there giving you some paperwork or telling you just how to do your finances. And it can be there for that too.
Right.
But there's a lot of background effort and collaboration going on to buoy up business. The governor has talked about making Utah the startup state, right?
Yep.
That's a big initiative. And I would say Southwest Tech in little old Iron County, Cedar City, which isn't so little anymore. I mean, in Southern Utah, we're really trying to make a collaborative effort to show how business succeeds here. And so Southwest Tech has been on the forefront in my mind on helping these business startups, helping these small businesses get going, right? And so the more we can collaborate and do some of that background legwork, the easier it makes it for our businesses to get started. I mean, Cedar City just last year was named the number 1 city for small business not small business, the number 1 small city to start a new business.
Right.
And that's an amazing designation. And then our neighbors down in Washington County were in the top 5 as well.
Yeah.
And for the country. And so it shows how far collaboration goes and the impacts that it has and starting business. So I don't know if there's anything else that you kind of want to maybe add to that.
I mean, I'm glad you brought that up because I would have been really ashamed watching this back if we didn't bring up that, Cedar City was named the #1 small city to start a business in the entire United States. And that's a small city includes cities that are, probably
twice our size.
Yeah, at least twice our size. So much, much bigger than us. So that was like a big honor for us as a community. I think the Innovation Center plays a big part of that.
Huge part, yeah.
But the Innovation Center, I see, all the collaboration that happens with it. You can't do that without all the other entities that are collaborating with Southwest Tech, with SUU, the Innovation Center there. So yeah, I think that speaks volumes to what's going on here, the opportunity that's here in our community. And there's always business opportunities, but with how we're primed for that, I just, I hope anybody listening, if they have business ideas or maybe even just hearing that, oh yeah, this is a pain point with some product I use, like, see if you can explore that, come in, check it out. We can help you prototype it. So yeah, just, I hope this helps give people the motivation a little bit to, I don't have to know everything or anything about everything to, go in and start a business. But you can come in knowing pretty much nothing and just, hey, I have this idea, no idea where to go, and we'll help you explore it. And obviously it's not always going to turn into a successful business, but you never know unless you explore it and check it out.
So tell people one more time where they go online to learn more about the Innovation Center and how to get a hold of you.
Yep. So it's innovationcenter.cc. And you can schedule an appointment on there, come in, do a tour, check out the Innovation Center, the resources that we have. You can also email me. It's jwaite, so JWAITE @stech.edu. I'm happy to answer any questions and help you out however we can.
Okay, great. Jeremy Waite on the Explore Local podcast. Thanks so much for joining us, Jeremy.
Yeah, thank you.